All right, hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the WTCF podcast. It's Charlie here and want to cover this week's intention, and maybe this is something that helps you. We fall so we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Now, I might have done this one in the past, but now with about 100 episodes of this behind me, uh, sometimes it's good to go ahead and retread some of the same places that you've been to see what you really learned from it. And what I really want to take into consideration this week is, we're going to make mistakes and failing is just really part of the process. And I think that's one of the hardest things that we actually do have to like come to terms with, that sometimes we are just going to flat out like make mistakes and things aren't going to go our way and it's not going to be great every single day, and that's actually genuinely normal. It's also this really good reminder that if we get knocked down 7 times, we stand up 8. I think I make a joke in the article talking about Chumbawamba because, again, it's still fantastic advice. Like no matter we get knocked down, but I get up again. Um, so I think there's a lot that still needs to go ahead and be recognized with this one. Also, when every time we get back up and continue to fight towards the things that are important in our lives, we develop more resilience and we can get ourselves a little bit further along in that process. It's doing the things when it's really, really hard or feeling that we failed miserably is actually when we're going to learn the most from it. And really, really something to think about for that one. And what I have to keep coming back to a lot of times in my own life is this really good reminder is life isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be lived. So it's not even about the fact that it's like, oh, it's here to have all this other experience. Like we're meant to live through it, to go ahead and have ourselves change and develop and grow. So, knowing all of this, and then now with it being the beginning of a brand new year, I did want to start to hold myself more accountable. So I'll be doing a couple of more of these. They probably won't all be podcasts. They'll probably all be up on YouTube more than anything else, but I'll still keep the weekly one in there. But I might make them a little bit longer to discuss some other things that are going on in life. So for this one, some of the other good notes to celebrate that We the Collective Fitness has been in operations for 2 years. Still very thankful for that one. Most companies don't make it through one. So now that I got two, feel a little bit more ecstatic about that. The community continues to grow. I've learned a hell of a lot more around marketing and outreach and leads development, which is not something I've really had any knowledge in beforehand. I usually am just like in the spreadsheets, so I can go ahead and look at financials and review all that for business sense. I think that I'm a pretty good trainer. So again, I love being able to teach. So I think I've done a really good job of that. And even yesterday might have been a really good reminder to myself that I am kind of decent at this one. I covered for one of our other instructors. They're out of town. So I'm like, yeah, I'm off of work. I'll go ahead and take care of it. And when I was working with some people, and I go, hey, I'm going to try to do as close to the style of workout that you guys normally see. However, it's through my lens. These are the things that I work on. These are the things that I think are really important to work on. So you guys are going to do that. And then just kind of spot checking form. And they're like, wow, I've never actually thought about the exercise that way. And I think that could be incredibly life changing just to, finally understand a tiny little tweak. And honestly, it could have went the other way around where, I'm working with somebody and giving them cues and they hear from somebody else one cue that suddenly just sticks with them. It's another thing that came up during Pilates. So I had a chance to take one of our Pilates classes. Because again, it's something I'm unfamiliar with. So again, getting into that discomfort, being okay with failure, being all right with like getting knocked down and falling. So I went ahead and I test drove that out. And somebody who has taken plenty of classes beforehand said, well, I've never thought of that movement like this. And they just had a brand new perspective and like hopefully enthusiasm around their practice. So I'm super, super excited about that. But then also being the new year, a couple of other things that are going to be coming up during the new year. One, We the Collective is going to begin an 8-week weight loss journey. I'm usually against these, but I think I can go about this in a very healthy road. Talking more with the community, a lot of people who look to get into fitness look to just lose weight, but it's going to be a really good mix of, hey, you're going to take a certain amount of classes, you're going to get nutritional advice, you're going to get basically how to go ahead and create additional habits for yourself. So it might end up being more like life coaching a little bit to help people get to a really good spot where they can kind of work on their own, right? So the 8-week course is not necessarily here so you can be like, we're just going to shred a bunch of fat off of your body, and then 8 weeks later you'll gain it all back because you wouldn't have learned anything. There's plenty of other trainers or instructors who are out there who will just beat you up a whole bunch of times, basically restrict you from eating any real food. And then they'll be like, bam, you hit the number. And then suddenly 2 months later, you're right back into the same habits, going right back in the same direction. So there is no like quick fix to any of this stuff. These need to be habit forming, lifelong changes. And again, once you get to a good spot, like you'd be able to actually go on for a very long time, just maintaining. So even for the simplest kind of viewpoint on this one, exercising like 1 hour a week is infinitely better than zero. Like it's undefined. So if you really want to go into that one, it's so helpful to even get 1 day a week of additional training in there. So hopefully we'll be able to get some people to learn some new things. I do have coursework that I want to go ahead and complete. So that part's not done, but I'm ready to start introducing this on a very small scale. So again, I just want to announce things just so I can go ahead and feel better about them. If anything, these might be a little bit more therapy-based sessions for myself so that I can go back and reflect. I've gone back and watched some of the other ones, and my God, interesting how much I've hopefully grown and changed. So in this year, what I want to be able to do is one of the most important things I want to do is I want to dunk a basketball in my 40s. Now, I'm going to give it that a second. I've never done it. I can grab the rim, but I've never actually went through specific training. I have a program that starts up where I can start to sprinkle it in during my next program that I'm running. And then it's actually one of the staples, the one going forward. So in January, I'm starting one of the John Call ones. So people on the internet might recognize him as Juji Mufu or Juji. I bought a couple of his programs when they were on sale. I think he's got an interesting training regimen for himself. I think him being a polyathlete, basically understanding parkour and flexibility and powerlifting are just kind of interesting. I think there's a ton of stuff there. So I'm going to start to sprinkle in, do his training and then sprinkle in the jump training. And then I do have a custom built program that starts in February that will run for about 8 weeks. And hopefully by the time it gets a little bit nicer outside, I know it hasn't been that cold, but when it gets a little bit nicer outside, I'm hoping to be able to do that, to be able to dunk. I think that's really important for myself. The second thing that I wanted to be able to do and maintain is I do want to cut a little bit of weight. Usually I'm not the biggest fan of cutting weight because it can be really, really hard. But again, it's block and tackle work. If I consume less calories than I put out, my weight will go down. So again, maintaining some level of being active, whether that's riding the bike. There's actually a bike like here. I know you can't see it through the void, but if I move my hand around enough, you might be able to catch it. But to be able to ride that bike a little bit more often, to make sure that I'm getting over 10,000 steps a day, because the goal is to get the first digit of my weight down to a 1. Now, I've been there once before in the last like 5 years. Let's say in the last 3 years I've been there, but I hated it. I was dieting down. I was dieting really, really hard. And still to this day, I think I dieted way too hard at that time. I lost significant amount of strength. But for the short term, I'm not so concerned with that one, right? My deadlift is still really good. My squat is probably going to maintain because I'm going to get a little bit stronger through my legs. Bench, shoulder issues have kind of gotten in the way, but it gets better all the time, and I'm still being able to make some like muscular gains. Like my shirts are starting to fit differently up here, and they're getting baggy down by like my belly. So I can really start to appreciate those things. I do want to make these a little bit more personal. I do want to be able to have more conversations about this and kind of tell you how things are going, and then just where I'm starting to find stumbles and successes. So I've done some of this work, right? I've done the weight loss cutting piece of it. I've been running the business for 2 years, but I do want to go ahead and learn some new things for myself. So for the learning piece of it, I want to maintain that I still continue to read. And by that, some people will go ahead and scoff and say that audiobooks aren't reading. For the amount of time that I have in a day and for some of the other driving, I do think it's very beneficial. So if anybody has recommendations, again, on the Grundis Yoga Lift website, there's a ton of books that I've already went through. And I don't have a problem reading through some of them again. I think it could be really, really helpful and mind altering in a very positive light to reread a book. So it's not just like there's somebody said it's like, oh, I can read 52 books in a year, but how much of that am I really retaining? So I really want to make sure that I go back through. Maybe I do a couple of extra books on like lead development and generation for that, maybe some more marketing style books, just to kind of help myself understand that better. Like I've gotten way better at it on nice things like the YouTube videos average about 500 views a piece, minus these ones. These ones don't get a lot of traction, but the Grundis Yoga Lift one, which is just the sister channel of this, I've just been running a little bit longer, averages 500. Things like Facebook and Instagram, I'm getting almost a 1,000 views a day. So my reaches continue to get better. It's gotten way better since we first started. It's gotten way better in the last like 2 months now that I have a better understanding of those things. So I do want to, challenge myself to do that work a little bit better, a little bit smarter. Or if there's somebody out there who happens to know it and they're like, hey, I love that kind of stuff and I love to teach and train to that kind of stuff. I want to go ahead and help out. Cool. I would love to sit down for a conversation. Also to keep in mind for the start of the new year, there will be some other standardization stuff. What I would like to do at the studio once a month is have an entrepreneurials meeting where members who have small businesses, we can go in and do resource management work. So if we do need to place orders for stuff, we can hopefully get a better deal by working together or just kind of sourcing better resources, like just getting better stuff because we know more people then. If the easy concept is that every person you know has about 250 people they know, and I know not all of them are your friends, but it's roughly about 250 people that have some kind of contact with you that might be able to help you. And then for every one of those, there's 250. So it can exponentially grow very, very quickly by just doing that. And I think helping out these other groups is also something that I want to go ahead and do. Somebody that I've been working with for a while, I continue to push them to go ahead and start their own business and get operating, just start operating. Like, again, start to do something about developing this. And they're still kind of falling back on their heels a little bit. So I want to ensure that these people have as many opportunities and a support structure around them so they can achieve something as well. It also might be nice to use this as an entrepreneurial group to develop as a group think tank, almost like a Shark Tank kind of deal, but maybe not as pompous, to go ahead and recognize other good investments that are out there and be able to leverage our knowledge to help other people get successful and maybe help ourselves a little bit in the process. The stuff with We the Collective is never about making a giant profit. I don't think it was ever about that. It was always about trying to help the community and just keep everything above board, right? Just to help people get as far as they can and help people to become the best versions of themselves. And hopefully by being in that kind of giving nature and being authentic to ourselves, we can continue to find profitability and success, but no more that would be like, oh, I'm going to go get myself, 30 more of these locations so I can lose touch of like what the actual program is. It's not so I can go ahead and get a stupid yacht and then go get a yacht scheduler. It's not for me to get a bigger house. Like my house is perfectly fine and it's just me. So I could get away with smaller, but I like my house, right? Minus the little leaks and stuff that happen, but sometimes it's part of life. Sometimes you just fall and you have to get yourself back up. So I just want to make sure that I cover those things and give a bunch of information about what's going to be important for me in 2025. And as that kind of changes over, hopefully I'll keep getting better at it. And on that note, good luck.